There are a few issues with my current crosscut sled. Number one, there's a little bit of play in the runners. Number two, my blade hasn't always been at 90 degrees when I've cut with this, and so I've got a little bit wider kerf here than what I'm supposed to have. And number three, it's not necessarily completely flat, and I want to make sure it's even flatter than it is right now. So my plan is to use MDF.
The primary reason for using MDF is that it's engineered to be exceedingly flat. In my adolescence, I didn't appreciate flatness as well as I have learned to in my advanced age. I cut a couple of strips at 4 inches wide for the back fence and a single strip at 3 inches for the front of the sled. I agonized a bit over how deep to make the sled, eventually settling on about 16 inches.
I just got to get the dried glue off the end there.
I applied a substantial amount of glue to the strips that would combine to form the back fence.
I don't want to skimp here.
I was expecting the MDF to be very thirsty for the glue, but instead it turned out to be a huge waste of Titebond Original. I hate to waste glue.
All right. I'll let that dry.
My application of glue to attach the front of the base to the sled was more judicious, but still way too much. One of these years, I may just start to understand how much glue to apply. My clamp collection is a bit eclectic.
Now, while I'm waiting for those to dry, I'm going to source some runners. The runners can't be very deep because the miter slot isn't very deep. In the middle here, it's a little bit deeper, but then on the edges, it comes up a little bit. Instead of taking the measurement from the middle, you just take the measurement from the sides, and that gives me a reading of about 7/16, I think. I don't have any MDF that's that thin. I do have some plywood that's thin enough, and I would hope that that'd be a little bit more structurally stable so that it doesn't move as much during the year. So the width needs to be probably a little over 3/4 of an inch. And, well, that's way too wide. Still a bit too wide. Okay, that goes in, but it's too narrow. Okay, that's a tad too big again. You know, I think that should work. Just happen to have a bunch of pennies here. Garage. Not my pennies. One of the things that I don't like about the current sled is that it's basically the blade is in the middle. I'd like to have it more offset. That gives me more stop block capacity on one side.
I used a combination of wood glue and super glue for the runners. The super glue dries quickly, acting as a bit of a clamp for the wood glue that dries more slowly, but adheres better over the long term.
So, point of truth.
I positioned the runners as flush with the front of the sled since that's the portion of the sled that will pretty much always be on the table.
Put something heavy on it. Guess I should have put that more in front because that's where the runners are actually at. Alright, so I want to put a little chamfer at the bottom so that any dust that collects won't impede or won't get in the way of any cuts. So I've got the chamfer bit in there, and here we go. Just a small little chamfer, that works well, or I hope it works well. And now I'm going to switch out the bit. I'm going to do a straight bit and cut basically through the middle, kind of deep. And then I'm going to switch it out for a Matchfit dovetail bit so that I can use this with Matchfit hardware.
I first became aware of Matchfit hardware when watching a video about miter saw stations from Busted Knuckle Woodworks. T-Track probably works just as well if you have that handy. I don't.
All right, off camera, I took the base, ran it through on the runners to find where the kerf is. I took the front face and put a screw right here so that I can pivot and get this square. I've seen a lot about the 5-cut method on YouTube videos. That seems way too complicated to me. I've got a pivot point over here, so I can try to lock in where is square. So I can try to do it just visually here, but I think that's pretty close. But I thought, hey, you know what? I've got other squares. Why not put those in the kerf? Push this guy against him and against here. When I can't go any further, that should mean that it's square. So I want to lock that in. And I'll do a test cut before I put in the screw. I'm not sure when, but the battery died on the camera. But I've done quite a bit off camera for sure. The problem I found is that my square that I was relying on is not square. So when I set the back fence here with the square, it was wrong. Because this is garbage. So in the meantime, I've done several things. Corrected the positioning of this back fence using a correct square. I made the stop block. I added this backstop here so that the blade doesn't hit me. I'll keep in mind to keep my fingers away from where the blade might come through. Wax. I waxed the bottom, including the runners, to the top of the table in the little Matchfit slot here. This surface and a little bit down here, the back and bottom of the stop block. So things should go pretty smooth now. Oh, and then I also rounded over all of these edges. Next step, I want to add a tape measure. I'm going to use my stop block and I'm going to lock that in. This should be 0. I've got some self-adhesive tape. So this tape goes right to left. But if it doesn't stick well, I can always super glue it.
For your benefit, and not to curtail my embarrassment, I edited out how long it took me to get the backing off of the tape.
Trying to keep the tape right on this forward edge. Seems to be adhering pretty well so far. Aviation snips. I could put tape here too. Not going to worry about it. If I need to measure something, hopefully I can do it on this side. And this side gives me over 16 inches of stop block ability. Whereas on this side I've only got about 8 inches.